Welcome back. Next up, let's dive into business. We are with a fellow who has demonstrated his success in the sphere of business, and he's also thinking a lot about it and putting that thought into an organized form. Brackitz is the company that he founded, that he made successful, but it is this work that I believe will take his name out into the firmament for all to know. I'm excited to be joined by Chris Cochella. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, I'm well. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to be here, and we're going to talk about experimenting in business. And I really like the distinction that you've drawn and the importance of it as you go from what we think we're going to do with our business to when you're actually in it. Talk about Brackitz, talk about your business background and how it brought you to here.
Yeah, my business background started when I got my undergraduate degree in economics. Ever since then, I've had this business entrepreneurial mindset. And with Brackitz is probably the best example I have, the best story I have about how experimenting in business paid off.
And talk about what you mean by experimenting in business, because it sounds like you're blending science and business in a way, and in a way you really are.
Yes, I am blending science and business. I also have a degree in science and geology, and worked in that for a number of years. And I found that the scientific method of posing a hypothesis and then grounding that with some analysis and data collection and methods is not only useful in science, of course, and has been around for countless years, but is extremely useful in business to validate those assumptions and reduce risk and uncertainty as you go forward.
And talk about that process, because I think on one hand, I can hear some business friends of mine who might not be of as a scientific method type of personality, type of leadership style, a lot of things that go into how people unfurl their businesses. Talk about the importance of taking a scientific attitude toward it when failure is not an option.
Well, if failure is not an option, then it would be a good idea to do that more, right? To reduce more uncertainty, reduce the uncertainty more. Most business ideas, whether they're inside an existing business or new business ideas, are poised to fail. Nearly 85% of them. And a large reason that they aren't successful is that there's a poor match between the customer and the product or the service. And if we can reduce the risk and uncertainty in that match, then we can improve our success rate and hopefully not fail. And in doing so, set up small experiments to determine whether or not what we're thinking as business people with our gut and our vision, validate that before we go forward, and thereby saving time mostly, and then of course money as well.
Indeed. And you talked a little bit in your materials about your experience with doing this process, and in your case it came down to sitting down with customers, with potential customers, and getting their feedback directly. It seems like that would be something that everyone would do, and yet it's less common than I think a lot of us might think. Talk about that process and the value in taking, as you say, just a little bit of time, but giving yourself insight by talking to people who might be a great customer or not a customer at all, depending on how you design your product, how you label it, how you distribute it, all of these considerations.
Yeah, talking to your customers is extremely liberating, but as you say, we all know it's important. If you don't delight your customers, you're not going to go anywhere. But then the actions that back that up are really where the rubber meets the road. Do you go out and talk to the customers? Do you, as a CEO or even a customer service representative, go out on the street, so to speak, and talk directly to those customers? In Brackitz, I found it very, very helpful when I started out. I made some initial prototypes, and I posed the beginning hypothesis of, will teachers educators like and understand Brackitz? Simple question, very early on. I went out and did that with teachers I knew and expanded that to teachers I didn't know. And that gave me the confidence to go ahead and risk more of my time and resources. And moreover, once I entered the market, it gave the business itself a higher valuation and a lower risk profile, so that when I took on money or found an investor,
Right.
I was able to get more for the business and myself as an entrepreneur.
Fantastic stuff. Talk about where you're at now. Obviously, we have your business background, and I'm sure that that's still there, but you're talking about some really great ideas here. What's the next step for you within the business of Chris Cochella?
Well, the next step for me is full of experiments. I've left Brackitz in a day-to-day manner. I'm still involved. I'm still an owner, and so now I'm faced with the freedom to pursue new things. I am pursuing start a new idea of my own, a new consumer product of my own, and that's where I came from recently, and I'm excited about that. I've also been coaching and consulting several other businesses, several that are trying to get off the ground, and then a couple others that have reached somewhat of a plateau and need to experiment and innovate to find new growth.
And you hit on exactly what I was thinking about, this experience of innovating. We use this word, it's a powerful word, but in a lot of ways, and especially as we look at your great, I guess I'll say tools. I don't want to say toys.
Toys are good.
Is that okay?
We start with fun.
All right.
And then we
enough.
move toward, it's play, grow, and learn.
Fair enough. It's great stuff. But this idea of innovation, on one hand, it's a big word, and it contains a lot of expectation, of excitement. By the same token, the building blocks of innovation are very simple and more to the point of the questions that you're posing in this work with your clients. Talk about what innovation means to you.
Well, to me, innovation is coming up with novel and new value. And I'll leave it there, because for some people it can mean disruptive innovation where the whole world flips upside down, like we see a lot in the digital world.
Sure.
To others, it's incremental. And I would rather not put too many labels on things and instead step back and leave the hats and the labels and the titles at the door and explore what innovation means for the team that's doing it.
Well said.
What are those goals and objectives? At the same time, I would encourage people, and I encourage my clients to think in a simple way. It's very easy to look at a business, and business is extremely hard, especially starting up, and get overwhelmed with all that needs to happen. You and I were talking about spreadsheets and models, and then you're talking about going out on the street and talking to customers. And it is truly overwhelming, and I have found it very calming for myself, because I lose track of this as well, to think about the one thing I need to learn, let's say today or this week. Let everything else go to the side for the moment. It'll be there. It'll come back in a week.
Right.
But focus just on that, reducing it to its most simple situation, and running experiments. And those can go very quickly, or just posing those questions to ourselves, clearly answering them, moving that off the table and coming on to the next single important thing.
And it occurs to me that what you're encouraging is a culture within an organization that if experimentation and the scientific process, and I'll call it that, is present in the day-to-day of how a business engages with its customers, with its suppliers, with all of its constituencies, is the success in and of itself.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up culture. Culture is extremely important, and not just from a touchy-feely point of view, a soft skills point of view. It's really what people think about when they get up in the morning. And are they thinking about good customer service? Are they thinking about the vision of the business? Does the business have a vision? And on the topic of scientific method and experiments, are they thinking in a creative way? Is that encouraged from the leadership all the way down to come up with ideas, present them in a safe manner so that they can be considered, nurtured, vetted, and accepted or tabled for a while? And it's very much a culture, and it's hard to maintain that, especially as you start growing.
Right.
Everyone looks at stuff going out the door and the speed of things.
Sure.
but that will table off as it naturally does, and then what do you have? And that culture is what keeps you going. It's the repeatability of the culture and the DNA inside a business team.
Well said. Repeatability of the culture. That is, you're onto something there. What are you excited about for 2019? What are you doing?
Oh, I'm really excited about an idea I have. I actually met with the PC Caps folks yesterday.
Oh, great.
About possibly working with them. And I'm very excited about coaching other businesses. It's a thrill to have that perspective, to not be so emotionally involved and almost blinded by your vision of what a product or service could be, and offer that balcony point of view and help them find their way. It's really fun and rewarding to work with people that way.
And after having been through it, I'm sure that adds a layer of richness to the experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Chris, it's great to meet you. I hope that we get a chance to do this again. Tell folks social media and online destinations to find out more about your work and the work that you do for your clients.
Yeah, well, mostly Brackitz would be a great place to look. You know, I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to find me at this point. I just, currently work as myself or bring in other team members.
Sure.
So, look me up on the internet. My name will show up.
It's great to see you, my friend. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for making me think this morning. I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, Terry.
There's Chris Cochella. Make sure to go find him on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, do yourself a favor, get on there. It is a fantastic enterprise and a fantastic environment to think about business, to connect with others. Find Chris Cochella there. We're going to take a break. More show right after this. Please stay tuned.